Hi guys, my name is Raider, and my presentation is on the Creole people. So when people hear the word Creole, it's not unusual that they only think of food or music, but Creole identity is actually shaped by history, language, and communication. Creole people are particularly from Louisiana, and they emerged from a blending of African, French, Spanish, Caribbean, and indigenous cultures. Today, I'm going to dive into the history of the Creole people, their current cultural values, their communication norms, and the things that we can learn from the Creole culture that will help us become better communicators. For my first main point, I'm going to talk about the historical information of the Creole culture. To start off, the Creole people developed during the colonial period of Louisiana under French and Spanish rule. The term Creole originally referred to people that were born in the colony rather than born in Europe, and over time it actually came to include people that were mixed with African, European, and Caribbean ancestry. Many different Creole communities formed in and around New Orleans, where enslaved Africans, free people of color, French settlers, and Caribbean immigrants interacted with each other closely. These interactions created distinct traditions in language, religion, food, music, and social customs. Something else that's pretty neat is Louisiana Creole in particular was developed as a way for people from different linguistic backgrounds to communicate with each other. And something that I found out from Encyclopedia Britannica is that Creole culture is not simply a mix of traditions, but it's actually a unique identity that's formed through shared experience and resilience. The second thing I'm going to talk about is current events, values, and communication norms revolving around the Creole culture. Today, Creole culture is actively preserved through language revitalization efforts, festivals, music, and food traditions. There's a lot of growing interest in protecting Louisiana Creole language, which has actually been endangered due to historical discrimination and pressure to assimilate, which is really sad. The norms of Creole communication are really cool because they're emphasized by storytelling, expressiveness, and community connection. Their conversations are usually super emotionally rich, rhythmic, and tied to a shared history. This communication style is really expressive, and it's reflected by music styles like Zydeco and Creole jazz. Another thing I really like about this culture is that food acts as a communication tool, and dishes like gumbo and jambalaya are traditionally communal and reflect values of sharing, hospitality, and collective identity. I read an article by the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and it said that Creole traditions demonstrate how culture is passed through everyday interactions and not just informal teaching. Moving on to my main point number 3, I'm going to talk about what we can learn from the Creole culture. So another thing that I learned about the Creole culture is that it also helps us challenge our ethnocentrism by showing us that identities are complex and they're always evolving. According to Creole identity in Louisiana, understanding the Creole communication actually encourages us to listen more carefully and learn to respect the voices that are shaped by history. A lesson that is super important that we can learn from the Creole culture is the power of adaptive communication. So, adaptive communication is that the Creole communities developed ways to communicate across language barriers and cultural differences and social divisions, which is really, really cool when you think about it. Next, here are a few things that the Creole culture teaches us to do. So the first thing is they teach us to value cultural hybridity instead of seeing difference as a problem. which I really like because we see difference as a problem a lot in our society, which is something that I really think needs to change. The next thing is they use storytelling to build understanding and emotional connection. And lastly, they recognize that communication includes food, music, body language, and shared experiences, and not just words. I really like that one as well because communication and community in general is a lot more than just words, so I think that's definitely a lesson that we need to learn. In conclusion, the Creole culture represents resilience, creativity, and connection. If we can understand the history of the Creole people, recognize their communication norms, and reflect on what we can learn from the Creole people, then we can grow not only in our cultural awareness, but will also grow as communicators. Something that I wanted to reflect on from studying the Creole culture is that it reminds us that communication is tied to identity, history, and community, which is something that I think we forget a lot. So learning this from other cultures allows us to communicate with more empathy, more openness, and more respect, which is something that I really want to remember. So I hope you guys learned something from this too.